Hey there, it's E Squared Photography. I'm Erin.
And I'm Emily, and we are here to keep things simple and fun.
Have you ever struggled with beach photography? And by that, I mean taking your camera out to the beach, maybe on a bright and sunny day, because everybody loves those photos with a beautiful backdrop. How can you tackle those? Well, we're here to share a little bits and pieces of our expertise with you so you can hopefully tackle those beach sessions a little bit easier.
And stick around until the end because we have something special just for you.
And by the end of this video, hopefully you feel a little bit more confident heading out with your camera onto the beach to take some beautiful images.
And for the best photography tips and tricks, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell for notifications of future videos. And every Monday morning we come out with new videos, so make sure to be on the lookout for those.
Okay, so we're gonna go right into it, taking photos at the beach. How is it all going to work? Well, we're going to first start out by talking about how we take photos during the middle of the day when the sun is super, super high. What were our settings and what are some helpful tips? So let's dive right into that. So as far as our ISO goes, now keep in mind we are shooting in manual mode. Our ISO is set to about a 100, and this is because if it is so bright and sunny, we want that ISO to be as low as possible. The f-stop or aperture is really going to depend on the amount of people. So for example, for the little girl on the left, we would have shot at a lower f-stop or aperture, and then a higher f-stop or aperture for the group of girls on the right. As far as shutter speed goes, these images were shot at a shutter speed of at least a 1/500 or higher. Your shutter speed can be a little bit faster because that means your lens is opening and closing faster, which is allowing less light to come in. And because it is so bright at this time of day, that's not going to make that big of a difference. And all of these photos you can see were taken with some motion involved. So we did need to make sure that our shutter speed was high enough to also accommodate that movement.
Comment below right now with your biggest frustration when you are shooting at the beach. Okay, now let's take a look at golden hour shooting. And the images we're going to show you were either shot right before sunset or right when the sun was rising. So let's talk about camera settings for situations like this. As far as ISO goes, we are typically at a 200 at this time of the day. We can still have a nice and low ISO because there is plenty of light still available. And again, for our f-stop, it's going to depend on how many subjects we are shooting. So the image on the left of the little girl in her swimsuit was shot at probably about an f2.5, so a low f-stop. And the image on the right of the two girls, now that we have two, we might have bumped our f-stop up to maybe an f3.2, so a little bit higher to make sure we are still getting them in crisp, sharp focus. And no matter what, wherever, whenever we're shooting, any time of day, our shutter speed is always going to be at least at a 1/250 or higher, if we can make it possibly higher. So we will never drop below that, and the reason for that is because we want to get those tack sharp motion shots whenever we have motion happening. So in both of these images, the shutter speed was definitely 1/250 or even higher.
Let's just quick talk about a couple other tips when it comes to shooting at the beach in particular, or really shooting during the middle of the day when the sun is a little bit brighter and the sun is out in general. So one thing to keep very close in mind is shadows. Where are the client's shadows? So if we look at the image on the far right, her shadow is actually right in front of her, which is exactly where we want it. Now, if we look at the other two images, you can see that the shadow is not directly in front of her, casting some harsh shadows and a lot of sun and bright sun in those little eyes. And so if we look at the image on the right, that's properly done, where the image on the two images on the left, not so much. So really making sure that shadow is right in front of your client. Even if the shadow is as tiny as possible because the sun is right over their head, you still want to make sure that it is in front of your client.
Another tip when it comes to beach photography, or really any photography for that matter, is we love to make sure that we have even light. So in all of these images, you can see that the light on our subjects and the light on the backdrop or the background is the same. It's all even light from the background and on the clients, which is 100% ideal when we are shooting. Anywhere we're shooting, we like to have that happening.
And one other tip has to do with the sky. Now, a lot of people get very focused in on the fact that the sky is completely blown out. So if you look at this image here of these two little girls, the sky is definitely blown out. It just looks like a white blown out sky. Now, we are definitely okay with that blown out sky. We like the focus that it's on our clients there, and that you can see a little bit of blue in the water there in the ocean. Now, with that comes, it's really your preference. So we really do like that we are fine with the blown out sky, but we also know that if any of you have recently got Lightroom in the past year, in 2021, I think, is when they came out with some new features where you can mask your subject and or select your subject and select the background, which would be the sky, and you can play around with it a little bit more.
Okay, so hopefully these tips at shooting at the beach have left you with some ideas and some aha moments on how you can do better in shooting at the beach more confidently. Now, if you are someone newer to photography, still playing around with manual mode, we have a free manual mode guide cheat sheet in the description below, where we're gonna walk you through all the parts of manual mode to better help you understand it for your next time that you put your camera in front of you. So make sure to check that out in the description below.
And if you guys liked this video today, make sure to subscribe and share with a friend so we know to make more videos just like this one.
And if you don't already, make sure to follow us on Instagram at e2photography for more behind the scenes footage of us at actual sessions. And we will see you next week.